this is all things, because I'm like, I'm never in the script. I never, right.
Never follow the program.
Right.
Is this the roofing thing?
Yeah.
You're
staying there.
And this exercise. So I was listening to the practice session. It's great that like I right now,
They're
I've
like
never.
brand new, like,
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah.
just, well, and that, yeah, I'd say, you'll be fine being, you've already got background of it, you're not like brand new, trying to learn everything.
Yeah.
This is a great opportunity, this is something fresh, works, I mean, that, I can just tell you, it works, there's so many good opportunities to get into that help you get your right mindset, that's not just every day, it's getting out, tackling, being creative, just being available to our network, our people. The practice is huge, role playing, script practice, we've got them all, provide them. There's tons that I've saved over the years, I think bold 3 times.
Okay, I think
Down the road.
that's January.
Yeah.
So you recommend that?
Tina.
Yeah.
But I put that off for a while. So glad when I got it 3 times full now. It's really difficult to get real attention. We always had these blockers in our head. I'm being salesy, like I struggled yesterday.
Hey, Teresa.
Like, I gotta be, maybe he's working, I don't want to bother him, maybe this one. But that's just all weird. That's stupid.
Well, what I was saying is this year, we're not, it should be the 20 hour month. I would never.
I know, that's.
And so, my God.
Yeah,
But,
right.
yeah, I was expecting full screening, so, I was exactly what but, yeah, I think I had, 1 or 2, but I was thinking people were like,
Like a lead generation.
It's like, whoa.
It's there, right? Are you gonna sit in the roofs class?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll stay.
Yeah.
So I just moved.
Hey, good morning.
Good morning.
Is there coffee in the office?
Yeah, so you get past the building, it's right by my office.
Some of the stuff.
Never been in this room.
Are you not?
We always do the.
Monday, Wednesday classes, we did.
Yeah, so then you plan to be there,
Yeah.
so when your people come, and you'll know.
On the other side of this has a QR code.
More would show up.
What's that?
Said I thought more would show up.
On your personal page, business page. Hey guys, it's open to everybody. Sign up, has the link on it. I haven't invited the whole neighborhood yet.
Yeah.
But you will be able to. Yeah, it might take a while. Right.
Yes.
So, you want to buy it? No.
Our IT
You
guy
know,
is
right
supposed to
now, it wants to buy or sell.
fix all of this.
Whatever. That's a work conversation.
I wonder if we can just be open to like Google Slides.
Do you have it on Google Slides?
No, it's just through the, let me see if it is in, like online.
Come to give a different option.
Well, and
I just might-
I've got it in my Google Drive. Would it be easier to share it to you that way?
I think it's working now. I might just have to put this in a different browser.
You know, and it's just kind of like.
Ryan at 570 Saddle Creek Circle over in Roswell with Route 4 down.
Just minimize the PowerPoint. And you wanna show it.
And I can open that up there.
Yeah.
How are you doing?
Good, how are you?
Good. What's your name?
Jenny,
Jenny. I'm Ryan.
nice to meet
Good
you.
to meet you.
I'm Lisa.
Lisa.
I saw you when you were here a week or two ago.
Sweet. Awesome.
So you'll just have to click through the different
Good
slides.
to meet you.
Yeah, no problem.
Since it's-
I can do that.
Sorry about that. I need to share it.
Thank you. I always need these, always.
I always need to get rid of them because I always got them weighing down my bag.
Kimberly, does this count for collecting a business card?
She has so many she couldn't call back, so I started, we all would settle on that. Sometimes those options come up, but. Yeah.
Authentic, select this.
Yeah, I don't know.
Sweet. All right. All right, y'all ready to get started?
Yes.
So, and you probably heard me say in that meeting last, when I was in, doing these small group settings for this stuff, just with all the years I've worked with you guys and KW around Atlanta, this is the most fruitful for, not only for ourselves, but just for my agents that I've worked with for a long time. So I've got just a couple slides. These are just basically the elementary fundamentals of what we do that's going to service you guys best on, as a realtor, what should I be looking out for? So these are the things that, like, a lot of my agents that have worked with us for a long time, they know what kind of shingles up there. They see different things. So when they're showing a house to a potential buyer, or they're walking around the house when they go to sign up with a new listing, they're pointing out, well, okay, you've got a nice architectural shingle. I see drip edges up there. So I know it can't be more than 9 years old, like, which equips you guys to then knock the socks off of your customer. It's like, man, these gals really know what they're talking about, especially with the roof. So the roof, the HVAC system are the two biggest ticket items that can crumble a real estate deal, because there's so many other factors, so much money exchanging hands through that process. Another $15,000 to $20,000 just may just be the straw that breaks the camel's back, right? So we just want to help aid and walk through that situation with you guys, so you can, one, stand firm with what's going on, with what you're looking at, and then we can take care of it appropriately. The biggest thing that I try to be a little shyer to say in those meetings is, I usually never see eye to eye with a home inspector when it comes to the roof. I know they know a lot, they know a little bit about everything, and it's their job to be looking out for stuff. But we're more times than not on a different point of perspective when it comes to the roof. So there's a lot of times when fires are started, anxiety's high, stress is high, and it's like, oh man, there's hail damage all over the roof, or there's these problems. And then I'll go out and look at something or look at the inspection report, and it's just not the case. It's the roof's actually okay. So that's where I want to be a tool for you guys to lean on, be like, okay, let's not panic. I'm gonna send this to Ryan. Let's look at it and let's see what's really going on. And I can trust, and that's what we want to gain that with y'all, that we're gonna really shoot you straight with what's going on there. So if y'all have any questions while I'm going through any of this, please interrupt me. Then at the end, I just try to open it up for anything that you're working on, any examples or stuff that's happening right now that you want to dive in on a more detailed basis with myself. You're welcome to. So these are the three types of roofs that we're looking at primarily. Now, specialty roofs aside, whether it be metal, cedar shake, slate, stuff like that. We do all of those, flat roofing. Those are all things that we do as a company. But those are going to be more of a specialty situation. That's not going to be your average run of the mill. Right here in East Cobb, Roswell, Sandy Springs, this is what's going to be on probably 90% of the homes that you guys are running in contact with. So a 3-tab shingle is going to be your entry level or builder's grade product. You see how it's perfectly flat and it's very symmetrical. And this is only one layer of shingles here as far as on the asphalt itself. So this is usually a 20 to 25 year manufacturer rated product that has an average lifespan in Georgia of only 15 to 18 years. So this is the shingle that we replace all the time, every day, and there's a lot of storm damage that happens to those. The bulk of our insurance claims in Metro Atlanta are going to be on old 3-tab roofs that have wind damage to them. So when that roof is brand spanking new, it only has a wind rating of up to 60 miles an hour, which ultimately isn't that great. So as it gets older, it becomes more susceptible to being damaged at a lower wind rate. So we see, like we saw all summer, those afternoon storms that barrel through 35, 45, even 55 mile an hour winds. They were causing wind damage on roofs all over town. And we've worked tens of, and not, if not hundreds of claims just off of some of those recently. So we see this, we know kind of that grade is perfectly flat. It looks like a flat puzzle. It's easy to spot, especially when it's up to an architectural like this. You can see the inconsistency in the ridges. That's going to tell you where the architectural is a far superior, longer lasting, more durable product. You can kind of get a quick glance just visually of one versus the other. The architectural roofs are pretty much the golden standard of what we go back with on all the roof replacements these days. The average house, the difference in price, like if I was going to write a quote on the average sized home in Atlanta between a 25-year 3-tab and the new version of the architectural, which is a 50-year or a lifetime product, is usually on average only about $1,000 difference, which in a scheme of 50 years versus 25, that's got 130 mile an hour wind rating instead of 60. So that product is what we're putting on all the new roofs. Now, the older architecturals that are on a lot of these East Cobb homes, they were a 30 to 35 year rated product, and they typically have an average lifespan of around 20 to 24, 25 years, depending on how well maintained the maintenance and things like that was over time. So either of these are fine. It's just obviously just the lower end and the higher end of the asphalt spectrum that we see all the time. This one on the end over here, we don't deal with as much as we used to, but it still comes up, and this can be an absolute nightmare during the transaction. Have you guys ever heard of the Atlas Chalet roofs before? You have heard of it? You may have heard it like on WSB. Neil Boris used to say, if you got one bad shingle on your roof, the insurance company will buy you a brand new roof. That was going on for years. So ultimately, from 1998 to 2010, during the building boom in Atlanta, we were one of the big hubs for this product from Atlas called the Chalet shingle. So if you notice, this has individual tabs, just like the 3-tab here, but it's got this extra color and an extra layer on top of it to make it look like an architectural. So this is a builder's grade 3-tab with an extra layer of tar and some extra asphalt to have the 3-dimensional look of the architectural. So ultimately, their idea was this is a cheap option to get the fancy look and save a bunch of money. So this was actually discontinued in 2010 for being a defective product. You can see in the picture here, all these staggered little lines, like almost like fractures and cracks in the picture there. That's called thermal cracking. Also, some of these whelps in a few of these different spots are big blisters. So ultimately, the shingle would overheat and it didn't perform well where they applied that extra layer of tar and everything. So it just started breaking down extremely prematurely and they discontinued the product. So here's where it becomes an issue for you guys from a real estate transaction standpoint. This shingle's not been available since 2010. This is old news to the insurance company and to everyone in our industry. If there's anything wrong with that shingle, there's no repair option because they, for some reason, they made this product in a metric sizing. So ultimately, if we were to go put a regular architectural or a 3-tab shingle in to replace one of those, we have to cut and trim the shingle to fit that small metric sizing, which then voids the manufacturer's warranties of proper installation of the products that are still in play. The biggest problem is your client obtaining homeowners insurance with that roof being on their home. they will most of the time not cover you until you replace the roof because of how much of a liability it is. That the insurance company knows that this isn't available. They know there's no repair option. So they're not gonna walk in on day one and say, oh, one shingle ends up coming off and we're gonna have to come off the hip 20 grand. So not to say it's 100% foolproof, because some things do kind of fall through the cracks during the underwriting inspection process, but if they all are pretty much trained to look for that. I have insurance agents that call me from time to time saying, hey, Ryan, this one might be Atlas. Can you go out there and verify it for me? Because we just can't cover it.
Then you have to negotiate this in the sale.
Correct. So if this ever comes, even if there's not damage on the roof, this is the only time that I'm gonna come back to you guys and say, hey, Lisa, this is a full replacement, regardless of which side of the transaction we're on, just because we gotta do what's in the best interest of whoever is coming in and obtaining insurance on their house. If they do insure it, most of the time they say, okay, and it's kind of almost just like a gray area until people go to use their insurance. They'll say, we'll cover the roof, but we're gonna put you on a 5% deductible. And a 5% deductible means your deductible, if you have any damage from storms, will be 5% of the insured value of the dwelling. So if it's a $500,000 home, you do the math, you're gonna have a $25,000 deductible that's more than the roof even cost to do. So they covered it on paper, but they really didn't cover anything. So that's just where it becomes a huge sticking point. And if you ever see these, definitely let me know so we can try to get out in front of it. The biggest thing, as from an equipping standpoint, especially with listings, like there's still a lot of people, kicking around the idea of selling their house right now because prices are still really good. Especially the holidays are coming up. That's another big time of the year to get moved while school's out and stuff like that. Make it just a standard practice to ask potential listing clients, how old's your roof? If it's 15 years or older, just say, hey, Ryan's a preferred vendor. He's been with us for years. I'm just gonna have him come look at the roof for free. Doesn't mean that we're gonna have to do any work, but we need to check it out and get out in front of this on the front end so we don't get behind the 8 ball. Because here's most of my phone calls. Hey, Ryan, we're in due diligence. It's up in 2 days. Inspection just came back. Here's the laundry list of bullet points of issues. What do we need to do? So if I'm coming in on the listing side, here's where it's a benefit for you guys and on the homeowner. If we're already under contract and in due diligence, if I get the insurance to cover it, awesome. If it's just some minor repairs and I can knock it out in a couple of days, that's great. But we don't add any value to the homeowner's selling feature or to their equity or your commission if we don't do that on the front end. So by asking them on the front end, hey, how old's your roof? If I go out there and I find missing shingles in an old 3-tab roof, I get travelers to pay for it. The average roof that we do right now in Metro Atlanta is about a $20,000 project. If that raises the appraisal 20 grand, that automatically means a few more bucks in your pocket. Plus you get a brand new roof and a warranty that can be transferred into the new buyer's name as a marketing tool, with that being one of the major concerns of the home buyer as how healthy is that roof, because that's such a large expense. So like Libby that works at y'all's office, I work with her. She started here when I started at Roof It Forward. So we kind of walked through our business career together. She's done a really good job of that, of just preemptively having me check out roofs and qualifying if they're old. We've caught this stuff, we've teed it up, we've taken care of it. And it's just kind of become a part of her basically preliminary checklist when she's onboarding, getting ready to list a new home. So we've been able to catch so many on the front end that we're not scaring anybody away, especially now that negotiations are back. You can scare somebody away when it comes to, oh, the roof's not super great. During the pandemic, it was take it or leave it because 20 other people still want to buy the home. And that really made us tread lightly, but now we're kind of back to a traditional negotiation situation. With interest rates being as high as they are too, it's like anything we can do to save a few dollars is going to make the most sense. So we just want to present that peace of mind, and that's going to be best case scenario on y'all's transaction and for us, because if we are under contract and I do have damage to go through insurance, we're all at the mercy of their timeline. I can't tell them they've got to be out here tomorrow because you're trying to sell the house. They may take 3 weeks to come out, look at it, and give us the feedback of whether we can even get it approved. From the time of signature, whether it's an out-of-pocket estimate or an insurance approval, I can get your roof done within about 2 to 4 days on average, unless we're just having an extremely rainy week or something, out of the ordinary in that way. But that's just kind of the general gist of what I try to tee up for you guys, just to have some images of what to look for. I'm happy to email you guys this if you ever want to refer back to it, just to see some pictures. So just let me know if you want to see that as well. All right, so this is going to be about 85% of my real estate phone calls are us coming out to do basic maintenance repairs, not a full roof replacement. And these are the primary items that we're having to fix. Just like changing the oil in your car every 7,000 miles, redoing the filters. This is the oil change for the roof that needs to be done on average every 6 to 8 years, depending on the home. Is it covered in the trees? Is it out in the open? How's Mother Nature been treating it? These are the main items that will show up on the inspection report as something that needs to be addressed. So pipe boots, they're plastic. So over time, from sitting in the sun, they dry rot. They'll start to a little small split, and eventually the ring will break. And that's one of the most common leaks we see over bathrooms in people's home. It's just an old pipe boot that hasn't been tended to over the years that's split open. Not major. It's very simple, very straightforward. Exposed nails. So on your pipe boots, on any vents on your house, and around any flashing, and then also on the ridges, you have nails that you have to add silicone and caulking to, because they have to be technically exposed on the outside for proper installation. That caulk wears away in that 5 to 7 year time frame on average. Once the nail becomes uncovered, water can easily penetrate, rust the nail out, and start that annoying drip. So we got to reapply that stuff. And then nail pops. The house settles over time. It's not straight anymore. It's expanding, it's contracting. The years are going through the hot and cold weather. Nails will back up underneath the shingles and start to lift shingles up like that. I see pictures like that because the inspector never got on the roof. He just takes a picture like this from the yard, and there's just all these shingles that are bumped up. And then they say, there's wind damage everywhere. And we go out, and it's actually not that bad. It's just a nail that needs to be resecured and then seal the shingle back down. So think of this as your oil change stuff. The average repair price on just doing a roof maintenance package, we do all of these things on the entire roof. Plus, if they have any like leaves or pine straw up there, we'll blow it off while we're there. Just really get the roof into the best condition possible. Is the average price is usually around $1,000. It may be a little less if it's something super simple or a really small, easy house. It may be $1,500 or $2,000 if it's a really enormous home like there are around here. Then we have a lot more work to go into. But typically around that $1,000 mark is what we need. And like I said, if it's in that 6 to 8 year old range, it probably needs that if they haven't done it. When these things happen and they cause a leak, we're too late. Because a lot of people are like, we don't need to do anything. We don't have any problems. We don't have any leaks. We're behind if we are having leaks because now you got to fix the ceiling. So that's just kind of the preventative maintenance and things like that. Have y'all seen some of that on any inspection reports in the past?
I'm brand new, I haven't seen any inspection.
Okay.
I have not actually. Most of mine has been internal plumbing and stuff, but so fortunately no.
Good. All
My
right.
house roof is 9 years old, so I'm looking at it.
So this is an idea of what storm damage looks like. So from a wind damage standpoint, this is prominently what we're seeing around Atlanta because we don't get just insane, overwhelming hail. We get small little pockets of hail from time to time. Hail is obvious. You can see, I mean, when it comes through and it is dense, it is damaging. This is what it looks like. From an insurance standpoint, if you have an obvious missing shingle or a wind creased shingle where the wind's gotten underneath it, you can see the old tar strip here. That's where it's come unsealed. It's not supposed to be unsealed. It pulls it up and then it just flaps in the wind and eventually it just breaks off and it keeps bending and creasing at the top to look like that. So if State Farm rolls out, they're going to look at both of these and count them and evaluate them the same way. So here's ultimately the fact of what gets a roof approved is because of the age. So on a 3-tab, if it's in that 15 to 18 year old window, because of the age and condition, the roof starts to get brittle and fragile. So at that point, for us to come in and replace either of these shingles, to remove this shingle here, it's nailed in right here underneath these, and then that shingle's nailed into the top of it right underneath those. So that means we've got to remove the nails under 2 rows above that repair area. And in doing that, we have to lift those up to slide the new shingle in and then hold them up to nail it down. It's so fragile, they start to snap. So they'll start to break and you'll see basically these 2 rows of shingles here will all have creases above them because it was just too fragile. At that point, the only thing I can do from a contracting standpoint is just basically glue them down with caulk. And that's what we call a Band-Aid. It's not going to be recommended. Majority of your insurance companies look at that repairability factor when they're making a coverage decision. State Farm and Allstate are two of the biggest players in our market for insurance coverage. They're the two worst insurance companies at the moment on approving roofs around our area because they don't care how old the roof is. They're just paying for what's damaged. We're like Travelers, Nationwide, USAA, Amica, Chubb. They're all gonna look at that and be like, oh man, this thing's old. It's got damage on 3 out of the 4 slopes. This is a no-brainer. They'll send the estimate within a day or two. So who you have and what's going on up there can be a totally different recommendation on my end to you guys or to your client based on those factors. And if you ever have people that are wanting to know who's good to get with as far as insurance too, feel free to shoot me a text and just say, hey, who's working really great right now? I'm finishing my 7th year doing insurance claim work on a consistent weekly basis. Travelers has always been extremely fair, very easy to deal with. They have really good trained adjusters, very professional adjusters. And if it's something that's tore up, they usually do a good job of taking care of it. They're not bipolar where they spent a lot of money last quarter, now they're tightening up this quarter, and they go through these different behavioral patterns, all because of a bottom line on the dollar
What's your
figure.
opinion of USAA?
They're usually pretty good, but they can be a little bit bipolar on the spending. So what happens if they are a little bit tightened up with their spending? We always have to push the reinspection aspect because most people don't know that we have those other loopholes to kind of jump through. Then we hold about an 80% conversion rate with USAA on that reinspection.
So if I call back and have them come back out and look at it.
We've had that.
I think I'm gonna have to do that.
So it just depends on what you have, what's going on, and I can never guarantee anybody whether they're absolutely gonna buy a roof.
Right.
I've seen some that should have been bought 10 times over get denied. I saw some that didn't have a prayer of getting approved, in my opinion, and all the stars aligned.
Right.
So my whole thing is gonna come to, we're not here to play the insurance game. It's what do you need? If it is a full roof replacement, okay, we know that's what we've got to walk into. The best way I can get you a new roof from a financial standpoint is through your insurance. What's the likelihood of that happening? I want to know how many claims have you had on the homeowner's policy in the last couple of years. If we've got a clean report card, okay, even if it is State Farm and Allstate and that we know they're tough, let's at least exhaust that opportunity to wager the difference of paying a $2,000 deductible versus a $20,000 check for anybody to do the project. Just because sometimes you get the right guy or gal that just happened to be in a great mood and they want you guys a roof. So, any questions on the insurance or storm damage side of things? No? All right, Kimberly said I can minimize this. So when I go out and do an inspection, that's the thing you'll see on all of our stuff and like on my wrap Jeep is we do a free video roof inspection. So unless it's extremely steep and high, I fly the drone. So I don't always do videos from the drone because it's just a little bit time consuming. I usually do more pictures. But if I'm walking the roof, this is an example of a video of me doing this for an agent to show wear and tear, improper installation, storm damage, all of those things that I'll save to a YouTube link. And I'll be able to text you guys the link after you send us to do an inspection. So that way you can share it around to your client or the other agent on the other party, all of that stuff. So they can see firsthand, okay, it's not, don't just take us for our word, see why we need to either do a maintenance package or file a claim or just need to replace something in general. So I will get that rolling real quick.
We're doing a roof inspection today. So I'm going to walk you guys through a couple different things that I'm seeing up here on the roof. And so you can get a good visual of what we're looking at here. So the biggest thing that stands out, you can see all the white chalk mark. That's just sidewalk chalk. It will wash off next time it rains. Just using that to mark the shingles so we can better see it from pictures and video. But all the shingles you see with this line through it of chalk are all wind damage shingles. So this is what wind damage looks like. It's jagged tearing across the top of the shingle. It's where the wind gets up underneath the shingle, causing it to lift, crease, and tear. And eventually all of these, if not repaired or replaced, are going to flip back and forth so much that they'll fly off the roof, and that's where we'll have missing shingles. So this is the front slope right here, front and center of the driveway on the house. So we've got 19 damaged shingles on this slope alone. As far as the wind damage goes, I'll show you more of that on the other slopes that I found it. But we also just have some maintenance and some other few concerns as well. Next is I'll take you here behind the chimney. So I have this arrow pointed here because there's no chimney cricket. So if you're not familiar with what a cricket is, it's where we run a 2x4 into the center of the chimney, and we have to create a gable to allow for a valley to push the water away from the chimney. And is also a requirement to have one. So here the water can pool, it can back up, it can find a way inside the house. The siding and everything on the chimney looks pretty solid from what I can tell. It doesn't look like it's very old, and the cap is starting to have a little bit of rust, but I'm not seeing any holes or any penetrations in it. Moving on down to one of your exhaust vents, we're definitely having some rust deterioration around here. Got some old hail hits. I'm not really seeing any hail hits on the shingles themselves.
Hi, we're not seeing the video.
No, I've got this one circled down here where that one's backing out of that boot. This boot's actually lifting off of the roof here where they bowed it when they installed it there, and both of the nails are starting to back out. So those are definitely potential leak opportunities right now. So this down here looks like we had a new dryer vent put on. It's got some rusted nail heads on it. They damaged this shingle here doing the repair. So you see it looks kind of like that wind damage on the front, but that's just from them mechanically lifting that shingle up to slide in this new vent because they're splicing the vent underneath here, and they tore that shingle in that process. So the shingles are kind of on that fine line of whether they're still repairable or not from how brittle they are. It's kind of warm out here right now, so they're feeling like they're a little bit more flexible than the ones that were not sealed anymore. But I can't, just as a contractor, do a repairability test. That would have to be done by an insurance adjuster. Moving on here to the back, not seeing any wind damage on the back. So this is more your northern facing slopes. That's why we have all this black algae and streaking. So that's just the where the water doesn't fully evaporate, causing the algae to develop. So not really seeing much of the storm damage back there. Just got this one shingle that's got the corner ripped off of it. And I'll move on back to the front. So just more normal maintenance, things that just need to be done. The caulking on the nail heads needs to be redone every 7 to 10 years, just in general maintenance to prevent some of these little small leaks from popping up. We've got more wind damage here. On this front section, we've got 8 wind damage shingles. You can see all those where they're dark and creased at the top. And then we've got 21 wind damage shingles extending out here over the other part of the garage and walkway. So that brings us to a grand total of 48 wind damage shingles on the whole roof. It's a combination of these front 3 slopes. Looks like everything was coming directly at us that caused any issues, but we have had multiple storms this year. So not very surprised that we are seeing some damage. These 3-tab shingles, when they're brand new, they're only rated for 60-mile-an-hour winds. As they get older and more brittle, they become more susceptible to damage at lower wind speeds. So I'm not surprised that we're seeing that. And lastly is just, I'm finding some nail pops around the roof. So under this shingle is where the nail is backing out, and which happens over time as well. And those need to be fixed because they can allow for wind-driven rain to come underneath, and that nail can start rusting out. There's a couple more right over here. So, but I just want to let you know what I was looking at on the roof. Just want to thank you for your time and having us out. Once again, my name is Ryan with Roof It Forward.
It scares me to watch you walking on that roof.
I've never heard that.
Oh my gosh.
All right, let me see if I can get this back up. I think, sorry guys, if you couldn't see it, I think Kimberly did the sharing just to the PowerPoint. So it wouldn't let me show both. If you guys would like to see it, my phone number and email are on the vendor list. So if you want to text me and say, hey, can you shoot me that video? I can text it to you or email it to you. I'm sorry if you couldn't see it, just hear the audio there.
No, that's fine. If you can share the presentation, Ryan, that would be great.
Yeah, that's no problem.
Thank you.
Yeah, if y'all can just text or email me if you need it, and I can send it out to all you guys because I don't have just your contact stuff right here in front of me. But I can give you guys this entire PowerPoint. This is made just for y'all to hang on to, just as a reminder. So ultimately, the biggest thing that I just try to do with each of you guys is, you know, just from a business standpoint, that's one thing I love about working with my realtors is just like you heard me say in the meeting a few weeks ago, roofing and real estate are set up the exact same way. We get paid 100% commission. A referral and a word of mouth lead is our primary lead source. We're always trying to find ways that we can work smarter, not harder, to get our name out there and to go above and beyond for every single client. So for you guys to have somebody that you can lean on that's going to make you look as awesome as possible, with something that can be a big intimidating project, in which what is the biggest thing we could do to someone's house is what I'm trying to provide for you guys as that avenue on that. So if we can make you happy, I tell all my customers up front, I want to end this relationship with a 5-star Google review, and for you to anybody that needs a roof, friends, family, whoever down the road, you're gonna think of me before anybody else. So that's our goal, that's our standard. Are we perfect? We're not. Did we make a construction mistake? Absolutely. But we always take care of it. We've been around for almost 20 years now in Atlanta. And if it's something that I can't personally get to, I have a lot of guys on my team. We're kind of known as the real estate or networking team as a part of Roof It Forward. So they all work with real estate agents. I've trained them all myself so they know what the expectations are, because sometimes time is so of the essence. We need to get out there same day or like first thing in the next morning. If I were to be out of town or under the weather or something's going on, I've got other guys will disperse that too, just to make sure you've got something taken care of. But they always keep me in the loop with it. So I don't try to just pass it off and not stay involved, because I am your contact from starting to finish. That's pretty much all I got for you guys. If y'all have any questions, anything that you want to ask me or anything, I'm happy to hang around as long as you'd like.
Yeah, this was great. I didn't realize that there were 3 different types of shingles. I just never really paid attention.
Sure.
No,
No,
that's not gonna ride around like this.
Yeah.
I know, we're forever cursed to look at a roof everywhere you go. It's just a part of it, but
You enjoy that drone?
I was actually very stubborn about finally pulling the trigger on it, just because it's, a little bit of a gray area. There's something with a healthy sense of pride about climbing the roof yourself and doing all that. But from a general inspection standpoint, especially on some of these extremely high and steep roofs, and when it's 98 degrees and the index is 110, sitting in the Jeep flying a drone sounds a lot better than being out on the roof. So, and it shoots in 4K. So the pictures are just as good as my brand new iPhone when it comes back to it. Just from a leak diagnosis standpoint, that's where it kind of becomes a little bit sticky, because we really need to be hands-on unless it's just something more obvious. But the drone definitely helps out a good bit, and it allows us to take some really cool after pictures of the roofs that we do. It's like when all of our customers are picking out what shingle you want, I always send them the links. It's like browse through, see what you like, send me 2 or 3 you do like. I'll send them after photos of stuff that we've done. So they basically are kind of trying it on for themselves, because finding something that's going to be covering your entire house off a tiny little sample isn't always ideal. But y'all don't be shy to reach out if you have questions. Like I said, even if it's just like, hey, how's this insurance company? If you ever need me to look at something from like, hey, these are friends of mine, they're thinking about maybe listing. I told them, hey, the roof's a little bit older, let you come look at it. If you can find out who their insurance is, have you guys had any claims in the last few years? Just some of those little easy questions, that helps me out a ton of just what to know when I'm walking into the situation. Because like I said, I could have the same house with the same amount of damage, but it'd be Travelers versus State Farm. My recommendation is probably going to be completely different based on what that is and how we go about that. So we just want to set the expectations as transparently as possible so that they can make that choice for themselves. If they do decide they want us to go through the insurance process, I basically just walk them through every step of that. I call the insurance company with them, either on speakerphone or on a 3-way call, to let them know who I am, that we looked at the roof, we found this damage. Because you can make that phone call and call it in wrong, because they're going to ask you a lot of questions. They record that phone call. If they can kind of catch you in saying some very definite or absolute statements that they can turn around and protect themselves, well, you said this, so we're not going to be able to do anything about that because, that was recorded on the phone call. They're looking out for their own best interest with that. Then we meet the adjuster out there and they come and look at the damage. I'm on the roof with those guys, making sure that they really do a fair assessment. And then we just go off the insurance estimate. So we don't give quotes, and that's old news. And they say get 3 quotes from a contractor when it goes through insurance. That stuff just isn't needed. Legally, they have to pay their deductible, and legally the insurance company is going to pay everything above that amount. So I just keep saying super simple. So unless you want to go with something fancier, you're just paying your $1,000 deductible or whatever that amount is. But anyways, anybody online have any questions while we're still rolling?
No, that was fine. Thank you so much. I'll email you my details. If you can send me the video, that would be great.
Not a problem.
Thank you.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys for having us come in and chat with you guys for a bit.
See if I can get this thing closed out for her.
Thank you.